Hello, Internet! I am Paige, and I'm here to talk to you about my hands-on research project for my English 102 class. My teacher asked us to write about folklore and traditions, and I chose to write about sewing and how it has affected family life. I interviewed my grandmother and a family friend about their sewing experiences. Interviewee number 1 was my grandma. To get the ball rolling, I asked her the basic demographic questions. When I asked her if her mother passed down sewing to her, she told me that she had absolutely no interest in sewing and taught herself by reading the pattern. I was surprised. I had grown up thinking there was some mystical folklore behind her sewing skills, but turns out she didn't start sewing until she had kids. I also learned that my grandma didn't pass on sewing to her daughter like I thought she did. So that means my mom is self-taught too. My grandma said that my mom is a good old gee-whizzer and that she didn't even teach her how to sew on a button. Now I go to my mom if I ever need anything hemmed or mended. I may not come from a long line of passing on the needle and thread, but I do come from a family of women who get the job done without the reliance on a teacher. Next up was our family friend. She was taught to sew by her mother and carried on the tradition to her oldest daughter. She told me that she regretted not teaching her other daughters to sew, but because she started working full-time, she just didn't have the time. We then went on to talk about how much sewing has changed over the generations. Both interviews agreed that it is too costly to sew now that clothes are so much cheaper. I learned that sewing and the tradition behind it affects a family by teaching the importance of appreciating what you have. It also places value on doing things yourself and working with your hands, which is something that is hard to find in today's generation. I sort of felt an obligation at that point to keep the tradition of sewing alive. Who knows? Maybe I'll become the next gee-whizzer. Thank you, Internet, for listening to my story. I hope you have a pleasant day and an excellent tomorrow. This is Paige, signing off.